Hello there, this is a video accompanying the Joomla tutorial series developing an MVC component, and in this step we're looking at adding cache. Now I'm proposing to split this step into 3 videos. In the first video I'm going to look at page cache, which isn't exactly associated with the tutorial step, but I'm just doing it from the point of view of completeness. And then in the second video, I'm going to look at progressive and conservative cache. And in the third video, I'm going to look at the tutorial code and looking at doing some speed measurements upon how cache has improved the performance. So let's start with page cache. Over here, I've got a pretty much clean instance of Joomla version 3.9.2, and this is the site front page. The only thing I've added is this little module here, and all that does is echo the current time to the page. So if I click on it, it will just update the current time, and that's an easy way to see if the page is cached. Over on the global config, I've got debug off. I've got system caching off, and the cache handler is file, and the plugin system page cache, which is the one that controls the page cache, is disabled. So as you can see at the moment, nothing is being cached. If I click on it again, you'll see the current time being updated. I'll go and enable the page cache. The page cache will result in files being written to our cache directory over here under Joomla 3.9.2. So there's nothing there at the moment, it's just an empty directory. We'll go back, we've enabled our system page cache. This is sitting at 4557. Click again, it's 4631. Refresh again. 4637. So it's not being cached, and the reason it's not being cached is because I'm logged in here. So if I log out, now in me logging out is actually redisplayed this, and in redisplaying this it has actually created the page cache. So if we go back again, it's sitting at 4647. We refresh it, you get 4647 again. So now what is happening is that this whole page here is getting represented rather than the individual articles and modules being called. So if we go to our page cache, this is really just a file of PHP. If you try this and you get gobbledygook, it could be that in your global settings on your server you've got gzip compression. I haven't got that switched on. And as you can see, this is just the page that is being displayed. So if we go on and look at the article itself, and what I'm going to do is just change some text in the article. So I'm going to change this first word just to debase, and I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to go back here and refresh the page. And you can see that we still get the lorem. So it does mean that even if you go in and change an article here, it's not going to get reflected if you could page cache on until the expiry of your page, your cache time. This is in 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes time, it'll start giving new pages. But if you go in and change an article, it won't automatically be reflected in here. And the other thing you can do just to test things out, you can go to your page here, and I'm going to go look for LOREM, and there it is, and I'm going to change that to cache. Whoops, cache, and I'm going to save that. And then if I refresh this, you can see that it's updated. So it's actually just taken that text from that cache file there. If I log in back into that account there, you can see that it goes and immediately picks up what's in the database. Right. And current time is now being updated, as you can see. I log out again and it goes back to what was in the cache. Okay, so that's what you can see. What's happening under the surface? If we look at that, I did find, looking through the internet, I found this component program flow page under Joomla, which gives an overview of what's happening with Joomla and how Joomla actually processes things to produce a web page. It may not be 100% accurate, but it's pretty good from the point of view of understanding overall what's happening. So if we look at our page cache, I've taken just a copy of that diagram. And right at the start up here, you've got stuff that is initializing Joomla. And you pretty much just set the language. And after you set the language, Joomla emits this event called onAfterInitialize. And onAfterInitialize is the thing that is picked up by our plugin, our Joomla Cache plugin. So if we go and have a quick look at the code there, it will be in our plugins directory under System Cache. So plugin System Cache, and you can see here it's onAfterInitialize. So this is the method which gets called whenever that event is triggered by the initialization routine of Joomla. And what it does is it basically checks, for example, that caching is on, and uses this to determine if the user is logged in, and then just really gets the data from the cache, and it forms a cache key up here, which is basically from the URI. So based on the URL, it will create a cache key, and the cache key is what actually gets put into this here. So the second part of this file name here, which you can see just this bit here, is really an MD5 hash of some data, and the data that is used there is basically the URL. So the URL kind of factors into this here, because as you can understand, if you're caching two different pages, you want to have something that identifies uniquely the cache file. So it's really using the URL there. And going back to the code then, it basically tries to get the caching, and if it gets the caching, then basically it displays that cache page and closes the application. So you end up with this sort of view here. You come from here, trigger this onAfterInitialize, goes into that plugin, and it gets the data from the cache and basically closes the application. That's it. So it never goes through all of this here. If, however, it doesn't get any cache, then it comes back and just returns, and all of this goes through. And at the end of the day, there's an onAfterRespond, and the onAfterRespond is the other thing that's picked up by this, because that will have all the details of what has actually been produced in this whole process that Joomla covers here. And the plugin will then take that data and will actually save it to files. So we'll do this cache store. So I think that's basically it. So in summary, then, here, let me get this back again. So page caching, it's enabled by that system page cache plugin. The whole web page is cached, and if you're using file cache, it's going to be stored in cache/page. It's cached only if the user isn't logged on, and any of those global configuration settings really don't matter, because if it's cached, all of this stuff isn't going to happen anyway. It's just going to stop after here. Admin content updates don't automatically clear the cache. So what you would have to do then is go to this system clear cache. And I'm just going to see what cache there is. And you can see there it's got page cache. And you can just click on that to delete. So that will delete the page cache. And then whenever I come over here, this is set at 4647. Whenever I refresh that, that will update 5601. So generally speaking, page cache is going to be really good if there's static content in your website. But if there are forms or sequential processes, we go A to B to C on separate web pages, that won't work because it will keep refreshing the same page from cache, or shopping baskets won't work. So in those cases, what you want to do is go into the system plugin and actually set the exclude specific menu items, or if you go into the advanced, you can exclude URLs, and you can use regular expressions in these as well. So that's about it. If you're looking for kind of like reference material, there is some information on this cache page within the Joomla docs, all about page caching and some stuff on conservative caching and progressive caching, which I'll cover in the next video. Thanks for listening. Bye.